Everyone, this is Steadfast 2277
And this is Jim Bob.
with Jim Bob here and his GMC Duramax, and we're going to show you how to cheaply and easily and effectively undercoat your pickup truck. Alright, so first we're going to do is we jacked up the truck, put it on jack stand for safety first, in case you got a shitty jack and drops pretty much. Now what we're going to do is just going to, since he's going to do the wheel well, we're going to take the tire off, then we're going to sand it. There's three ways you can pretty much do this. You can sandblast it, which is probably the most expensive. You can wire brush it, which is what we're going to do. Or three, what you can do is you can grind it down with a grinder.
From Harbor Freight, cheap, $15, and you get the attachments. You get a couple attachments, and you get a wire brush. It's an extra $10, and it comes in a kit. Very handy to use. It makes this process go a lot quicker, and we'll begin. With the wire brush attachment, you want to beware and not run into your ABS wire or your brake caliper rubber brake line, or you will damage them and you'll have to replace it. Also, you don't want to damage the shock boot because you'll get dirt and debris in there and it'll deteriorate and damage your shock after a while. You don't want to end up going too close to your studs because you're going to end up taking the grinding wheel and clipping them, and it's gonna damage the threads, and you will have to replace the stud that was damaged, and that costs about $10, and you gotta take everything off and you gotta pound them out, and that's just a big no-no. With the big grinder and wire brush attachment, you're not gonna be able to get to smaller areas like in here or in here, and what's very handy is the hand wire brush, and you get the smaller ones at the part store or anything, but just go around and you go into the smaller areas and you just take all the rust and knock it off. You don't want to, the purpose of doing this is you don't want to paint over the rust because it won't last as long, and you'll see it when you paint over it, it'll be rough, and you want it to look as smooth as possible to make it look like factory. And also, if you paint over the rust, it's going to flake off and it's pretty much going to be useless.
So what we're going to use for undercoat is the Rust-Oleum products. You're going to use the rattle cans for some of the areas, which is dirt cheap, which is $3 a can. And we're also going to use the Rust-Oleum gallon jug, which was like $40 around that price.
We're going to paint on the gallon of Rust-Oleum on with the paintbrush before we spray on the undercoating, because this will cover up more and this acts like a good base. So when you spray that on, it doesn't take as much undercoat because this will be a base. And I like to get the flat black because when you buy your truck from the dealership, your frame is flat black from the undercoat they put on. But over time, obviously, the undercoat deteriorates and you have to reapply it to be able to keep your frame in good condition. So you want to mix it up very well because as time goes on, all the minerals and important things that the paint needs collects at the bottom of the can. So you want to mix it up with the paint stick, and you want to mix in circular motions for perfect mixture.
Alright, so you probably want to do is you're probably going to wear gloves because this stuff is very hard to get off. What you definitely want to do is, depending on where you are, we're in the garage, so we put down a cardboard base, so obviously the paint doesn't ruin the floor. Now that you have sanded down the surface, you can clean it if you would like to get all the loose stuff off. But now what we're going to do is we're going to paint it, and then the surfaces that we don't get or that are a little bit out of our way, we're pretty much going to just spray it with the aerosol can. Pretty much is you got your fat paintbrush you can use to get in these big areas, larger areas here, the control arm, the frame, the shock tower. You know, if you really want, besides getting the frame, obviously, you can do the control arm, you can do tie rods, you can do sway bars, stuff like that. If you really want to do that. Another thing you could do here is get a smaller paintbrush. Obviously, to get into areas where you can't get, such as in crevices like here, under the shock tower, right in here, everywhere around the bolts. So I don't know if you can tell in the footage here, but it's going on glossy, but there's actually a flat black chassis paint. Rust-Oleum gives you a couple different options. You can get gloss, you can get flat. There's different colors you can obviously get if you would like. For the calipers here, if it really matters for you, what you can definitely do is go the extra mile and get temperature-based ones that are actually meant for your calipers, like 400 degrees or more, something like that, because it does get hot when you start braking. This probably will eventually bake off the calipers. That's what you're going to come into an issue if you just use regular paint, not just chassis paint, but regular rattle can paint. I do know that Rust-Oleum comes with yellow, red, and black for whatever one you want to paint your calipers. You can also paint your rotors. Obviously, don't paint the face of the rotor where the pad grips onto, but you can do right around the studs up around here. Alright, so the front is all set, it's all done. Now we're going to head to the rear and we're going to start doing this area.
Just like we did on the front, we're going to take our grinder with our wire brush attachment and we're going to do the brake caliper, we're going to do the leaf springs, and I already did the rear of the chassis, but you could do that and then do what we did in the front.
So just like we did in the front, now we're going to paint the back. Bigger brush for bigger areas, smaller brush for smaller areas that you can't quite get into. Can. Another quick tip for this though is that the good thing about the rattle can is that when you put down the gallon paint by hand, this definitely helps you out by getting the areas that you missed by paint on. Also puts another like triple coat because the paint is so thick that you can use it as like a double coat. So this could be like your triple coat for extra protection to the chassis. Just like the front, back's all done too. It's going to take time to dry. You got to read the instructions. Every brand is different, but usually I would recommend
Well, the gallon of paint said it takes 4 to 6 hours to be able to be like a tacky, touchable dry, and to fully cure it takes about 24 hours.
So yeah, so just be safe, 24 hours. Alright, now we're all finally done. The product looks great. It's definitely a good thing to do. It's going to increase your chassis. It's going to increase other parts of the lifespan. Plus it looks great. It looks like it's from the factory. Like I said before, a whole bunch of different colors you can get. Gloss, flat, whole bunch of different styles, different companies. It's not a very expensive product. Anyone can do it. You just got to take time. If you really want to do the whole thing, both underneath and wheel wells, it's going to take a whole ton of time. We just sped up the process by doing just both, just the wheel wells. We've already done the other side. We already completed the chassis underneath the cab as well. Our video for today, but definitely want to recap. Definitely gonna want to wear this, a mask, because when you're sanding and you're painting, you don't want to be huffing in rust, you don't want to be huffing in paint. It's definitely not safe for your lungs. Definitely should wear eye protection, because when you're going to be wire brushing, you'll be flinging around a whole bunch of crap. Exactly what we did not do, which is what we should have done, but we didn't. You also want to make sure in your well-ventilated area. If you're doing it outside, you're definitely fine. But if you're in a garage or a shed or a barn or whatever you are, you definitely want to make sure it's ventilated so that you don't breathe in all this harmful debris and chemicals. I'm Steadfast 2277. This is James. Please, we appreciate it if you hit that red subscribe button down below, like or comment. We appreciate it very much. Take care. Have a great day.